She was beautiful, she was talented, and it does appear that she died trying to escape what a judge called a controlling relationship.
Welcome back, and thanks for being here. Now, it creeps up on you slowly when a partner starts to become more and more controlling. Before many people in these types of relationships know it, they have no friends, have been isolated from their family, and are pretty much completely dependent on the other person. But later on, if that person begins to lose that control, things can quickly turn violent or even deadly. Lisa Cecilia Harnum was born on June 12, 1981, to her single mother, Joan Harnum. She also had an older brother named Jason, whom she adored. The three were very close and lived together in Toronto, Canada. Lisa was said to be very sweet and a good friend. She also loved music and dancing. In fact, Lisa loved dancing so much that from the ages of 3 to 16, she studied tap, jazz, and ballet, as well as competed in dance competitions throughout Canada and the United States. At some point in her teens, Lisa became intensely conscious of her body image. She stopped eating and would end up being admitted to a hospital where she would be diagnosed with an eating disorder. This would be a condition that she struggled on and off with her entire life. At the end of 2004, Lisa quit her job in Canada after she had decided that she wanted to start a new life in Australia. And she would end up arriving in Australia on January 1st, 2005 on a 12-month work visa. And shortly after, she started working for a Sydney cosmetics company. At this job, Lisa had a coworker who she soon fell for, and they began dating. Now, it's said that Lisa was always very mature for her age, so she preferred to date older men. He was 20 years her senior, and the pair would eventually get engaged. And while Lisa had accepted this man's proposal, their age difference would end up becoming a problem in their relationship, and they would split up. By the end of 2009, Lisa had a new boyfriend. This boyfriend, however, was married. So after Lisa talked it over with her mother, she decided it was best to end the relationship. But shortly before Lisa and this man had gone their separate ways, he would introduce her to a new man named Simon Gittany. Lisa was in need of a place to live in early 2010. And Simon had an extra bedroom in his apartment, so he offered to let Lisa stay there. Lisa accepted, and she moved in with Simon. Now, Lisa wasn't worried about moving in with a man that she barely knew. This was because at first, she thought that Simon was gay. That would soon change, though, and after only 2 months of living together, Simon and Lisa began dating. Simon and Lisa were living in a highly coveted 2-bedroom apartment that had last sold for $1.6 million. It was on the 15th floor of the Hyde, which was located in the heart of the city. From their place, the couple had a stunning view above the treetops of Hyde Park and beyond to dazzling Sydney Harbor. Their relationship started out great, and Lisa believed that Simon really cared for her. They had a lot in common and could just sit for hours talking and laughing together. But it wouldn't be long until Simon showed just how jealous and controlling he really could be. Shortly before Lisa's 29th birthday, Simon encouraged her to quit her hairdressing job, telling her that she needed to be around a better class of people. And Lisa would end up leaving her job, just as Simon had wanted. But then, he also began to cut her off from her family and friends. At one point, Simon even hacked into Lisa's email account and deleted any emails that she had there from men. Lisa's friends also mysteriously began vanishing from her Facebook account. In fact, the couple even stopped going out to nightclubs because Simon would get jealous of the attention that Lisa drew in. Simon would also call Lisa by her middle name, Cecilia, likely in an effort to show just how much control he had over her. Outwardly, the couple seemed to be happy, but when Simon wasn't around, Lisa was emailing her mother about his sudden rages. Lisa would tell her mother that Simon was like a walking time bomb and would be set off if Lisa didn't cook something correctly. He would also explode if Lisa wore something he didn't want her to wear, or if she left the house and was gone for too long. Pretty much, he would explode over everything and anything. At this point, Lisa's mother could see that Simon's treatment of her daughter was eating away at Lisa's self-esteem. There was even a time that one of the couple's confrontations got violent. Joan, Lisa's mother, had overheard a conversation between Lisa and Simon when she was on the phone with her daughter. Lisa had called her and told her that she had picked up her handbag, ready to leave Simon, when he grabbed it and yanked the purse off of her. He yanked it so hard that he ended up catching her finger and breaking it. Later, Lisa had sent her mother a text message saying, "I'm okay, Mom. He has calmed down. The stress is getting to both of us," trying to make excuses for Simon. Her mother had replied back saying, "Is everything okay? You need to get out of there. Just leave. He is not good." And Lisa had said back, "Mom, please don't send me messages like that. He reads them, okay?" And her mother had already been suspicious that prior to this, Simon had been tracking Lisa's movements. That's because when Lisa had gone home for the holidays the previous December, she had told her mother that she didn't understand how Simon always knew where she was. Her mother suggested that Simon had possibly bugged her phone, but Lisa didn't believe that he would ever do that. By October of 2010, it was evident that Simon's controlling behavior was taking a toll on Lisa's mental health. She had sent her mother a text in which she said, "I miss my family and friends so much. I have no life." By June of 2011, Simon, who was clearly very insecure, decided that he didn't even like men at the gym looking at Lisa. So he told her she was no longer allowed to go, and instead had her hire a personal trainer to come to the apartment. And almost immediately after Lisa had hired this personal trainer, she began to open up to her about her life. She was so isolated from her family and friends that she felt like this personal trainer, who was also named Lisa, was the only person she could confide in. It was now about 18 months into their relationship, and Simon was not only dictating who Lisa could speak to and where she could go, but he was also dictating what she could wear and how she could wear her hair. Simon would only let Lisa wear monochromatic pants and jackets, flat shoes, no cleavage showing, and her hair tied back in a ponytail. Simon was even controlling Lisa's religion, as she had even converted to Catholicism for him. Simon pretty much only allowed Lisa to leave the apartment in order to buy groceries. At the end of June 2011, during Lisa's 30th birthday party celebration, in a room filled with family and friends, but none of hers, Simon asked her to marry him. And Lisa, who was still making excuses for him and believing that things could change in the relationship, said yes.
You don't give me a hand to make it official. We didn't hear anything.
Simon would later say, after the proposal, that he had found someone to serve him. There was also an email that Simon had sent to Lisa only 6 days after proposing to her, and in it he said, "Cecilia, you are my fiancé, and I love you. But we both know you have some problems. Please get rid of them. Words from my heart." Yeah, sure. She replied back, "I love you too, Simon, but it breaks my heart to think that instead of helping me, you resort to yelling and telling me to get rid of my faults. Or we won't work. My whole life, all I wanted was to be accepted." During the couple's regular explosive arguments, Simon would threaten Lisa, telling her that he had the power to get her visa canceled and her sent back to Canada, which would have absolutely shattered her dreams of making a life in Australia. After they had gotten engaged, Lisa, like many women, was very excited to start planning her and Simon's wedding. And when she had began to excitedly talk to Simon about it, he told her, "I'll let you know when we're going to start planning it. Until then, shut up." After that, Lisa had confided in her personal trainer, Lisa Brown, telling her that she wanted to leave Simon. The personal trainer suggested that Lisa seek counseling for advice about this, as well as help with other things, such as her eating disorder, which had returned. And the trainer recommended a woman named Michelle Richmond to Lisa. So after that, Lisa began seeing this counselor, whom she confided in often. She told her that the relationship between her and Simon had reduced her to a mere shell of the person that she once was. She was now isolated and friendless. So this counselor had told Lisa exactly what her legal rights were once she left Simon, and the best way to do it. Soon after, Lisa started to put into action her plan to leave Simon. And she slowly began removing her items from the apartment, storing some in a storage unit in Bondi that she had rented and paid for, and then giving some to her personal trainer to keep for her. But the thing is, Lisa had been texting her counselor, Michelle, and she didn't know that Simon was actually surveilling her text messages at the time. So after seeing this on July 28th, Simon had called up Michelle saying, "You fucking bitch. If you ever come near her again, I'll harm you. I know where you live." That same day, Lisa called up her mother in Canada and asked her to come to Australia to meet her and bring her back home. Joan told Lisa that she had no problem going to Australia right now if she needed her to. She just needed to take the time off of work. But Lisa told her it was okay and she would handle things for now. She would book her mother a plane ticket to come out the following week. But before that day could come, on July 30th, Lisa discovered that Simon had been monitoring all her cell phone activity via a software program he had installed on his computer. He had also installed hidden cameras throughout the apartment. Having confronted her partner about this huge breach of trust, the clock started ticking on what would become an unimaginable act of brutality. Lisa had locked herself into the bathroom and called her mom. She was whispering into the phone, saying, "Mommy, I just want you to know that I love you and Jason with all my heart." Joan was very worried and asked her daughter what was going on. Lisa told her that she was planning on leaving her fiancé of only 6 weeks, who was clearly an emotionally abusive control freak, and who was currently lurking just outside the bathroom door. Lisa knew at this point she could not wait for her mother to come to Australia. She needed to grab a bag and flee. Lisa then told her mother that if anything happened to her, to contact her counselor, Michelle Richmond. Then gave her mother Michelle's details, asking her to repeat it back to her multiple times. At this point, Joan was panicked, asking her daughter what the hell was going on. But Lisa just told her everything was okay, and she would call her back as soon as she could, however she could. Lisa then hung up the phone. But Joan would never again hear from her daughter. Now in Canada, Joan was frantic. She didn't know what was going on with her daughter, and she hadn't heard back from her in hours. She'd been trying to reach Lisa since their last phone call, text messaging her and calling her over and over, but with no success. When she didn't hear from her for a while, Joan then began to text Simon, asking him where her daughter was and begging him to let her speak with Lisa. But despite her text after text begging Simon to just let her know that Lisa was okay, there was no reply. Because just minutes after Lisa had gotten off the phone with her mother, Lisa and Simon's neighbors would hear Lisa scream, "Help me! God help me!" But they did not call the police. Even if they had, it wouldn't have mattered, because only a minute after this, Lisa went plummeting to her death from the balcony of the 15th floor apartment. She was still holding her purse on the way down. Shortly after that, Simon is said to have put on his shirt and then is seen catching the elevator down to the ground floor of the building. When police arrived on the scene, they found there was only a few witnesses as to what had happened to Lisa, and even their accounts weren't 100% clear. One man said that he saw a shirtless person on the 15th floor holding something black, that he had dropped off the balcony before that man then heard screams. Two other witnesses, a woman and her partner who had been eating breakfast at a cafe that was located on the ground floor of the Hyde apartment complex, when they saw Lisa's body strike the ground. The witness said that it took quite a while for Simon to emerge from the building. He had slowly walked towards her and had stopped about 15 feet short of reaching Lisa's body. He said, "Is she dead?" and then began pacing back and forth in the lobby. He seemed agitated, this witness said. And Simon kept repeating, "Come back, baby, come back." He would only go over to Lisa's body when the first responders were trying to resuscitate her. He actually would lean in so far that they had to tell him to get the fuck off of her. So did Simon actually throw Lisa over the 15th floor balcony? The witness who had seen a black object go over the railing had been so far away that he wasn't considered to be 100% reliable. Police, however, would end up finding something on Lisa's body that day that would help in their investigation. A torn piece of paper was found in Lisa's pocket, and then police would find 6 more torn pieces of the same paper. When put together, it was a note reading, "There are surveillance cameras inside and outside the house." The note was written in Lisa's handwriting and was written on a piece of paper that matched the stationery found in the second bedroom of the apartment. It looked like Lisa had ripped it up and put it into different pockets of her pants so that Simon couldn't find it. Unfortunately, though, when police went to check the surveillance cameras inside the apartment, since Lisa had discovered them, they had been turned off. There was, however, one camera that had still been turned on. This one was in the hallway of the apartment building just outside the couple's door. Police would find on this a video that showed Lisa attempting to flee the apartment, but Simon coming out and grabbing her with his arm around his terrified fiance's neck, and he's seen dragging her down the corridor back to their apartment. Lisa's mother, Joan, would receive a phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning, and excitedly she picked it up, thinking it was her daughter finally getting back to her. But it wasn't. It was the Toronto police saying they were outside her house. And immediately, as soon as Joan buzzed them inside, when she saw the police, she said, "He killed her. He killed her." But Simon was insisting that Lisa had just lost her footing after she had headed out onto the balcony following the couple's fight. He said that Lisa had gone onto the balcony once he had told her to pack her bags. He claimed that she had then fallen onto the awning of the apartment below when she had leaned over the railing. And as he had leaned over, desperately trying to grab her and bring her back to safety, she lost her footing and fell. He claimed that he screamed out her name in despair as she had fallen. He said that she must have climbed over the balcony in the first place in a bid for attention or in an attempt to take herself out of this world. Simon would also describe his fiancée Lisa as a very vulnerable woman who had, on occasion, thrown herself out of moving cars, and had also once ran into the middle of traffic in the middle of a busy Sydney street. After one such incident, Simon claimed that Lisa had told him that she had no idea what she was doing when she got that upset. However, Simon's recollections of that day did not quite add up to what police had found. Or I guess I should say, didn't find. Detectives would discover none of Lisa's fingerprints on the glass barrier that she had fallen over. Due to the height of it, if she had fallen over or climbed over, there would have been prints matching Lisa's, but there were none. They did, however, find a fingerprint and a partial palm print matching Simon. Detectives also found a number of bags and suitcases containing women's clothing located in the master bedroom. They began to theorize that Lisa had told Simon she wanted out of the relationship and was heading back to Canada. When she had, they believed Simon became extremely angry and had thrown her over the balcony. Simon would be placed under arrest and charged with Lisa's murder. He would then go to trial in February of 2014. And by then, Simon, who had been free on bail for over a year at that point, also had a new girlfriend named Rochelle Louise, who went to support him every day of the trial. And of course, Simon was still maintaining his innocence, saying that Lisa had run out onto the balcony and then disappeared over the edge. Simon claimed that on Saturday, July 30th, 2011, he had woken up early, then gone into his study where he had tried to log onto his spyware system in order to read Lisa's messages. When he was unable to gain access to this because Lisa had unknowingly to him changed his password, he told the court that instead he decided to watch some porn. Later that morning, when he still couldn't log on, he decided to confront Lisa about it. Simon said that they then argued before he went back to bed. When he woke up later that morning, Simon said that Lisa had packed her bags and told him she booked a flight. When he challenged her, she had grabbed her handbag and ran for the apartment door. Simon had gone after her. A minute later, she had gone over the balcony, or as Simon was still claiming, she had thrown herself over the balcony. The court would hear how brutally controlling Simon had been of his 30-year-old fiancée, and had subjected her to the most intense surveillance imaginable. The computer program that Simon had used to monitor Lisa's emails, phone calls, and text messages, he claimed was because she had a secret that she refused to tell him. And the reason why he installed the surveillance video cameras, Simon claimed, was so that he could keep an eye on the cleaners and the maintenance workers that might enter the apartment. But text messages would show that Simon was insanely jealous of any other man that had anything to do with Lisa. In fact, he would make her look at the ground anytime she was out of the apartment, saying, "Your eyes should only gaze on me, the one." In the witness stand, Simon did admit that some of his behavior towards Lisa was controlling, but still denied that he had anything to do with her death. And Lisa's mother, Joan, traveled from Canada to Australia for the trial. She would testify as well. She spoke about how Simon had made her daughter on occasion kneel down in front of him and promise that she would do as she was told. And after Lisa's murder, Simon's criminal past also came out. When he was 18, he had punched a deli worker who had asked him not to harass a female employee. 3 years after that, when police were investigating a theft that had taken place at a business where Simon worked, they had gone to his family's home and attempted to serve him an arrest warrant for another charge of stealing that he had. And when they did this, he, along with his mother, had attacked officers. He even bit off a portion of one of the police officers' ears. Then in 2000, Simon had been driving his Porsche Boxster when he had been pulled over and found with over 50 pills of ecstasy. In a verdict that took more than 4 hours to deliver, the justice spoke of Simon's character, calling him controlling, dominating, and at times abusive of Lisa. He would be found guilty. And while Simon would barely react to the verdict, his girlfriend Rochelle screamed at the judge, "You're wrong," and broke down into tears. Please, girlfriend. Simon was then handed down a 26-year prison sentence.
There's no winners in this case. Two families have had their lives dramatically changed forever. We will always mourn the loss of our beautiful Lisa Cecilia and are working towards making her legacy a powerful wake-up call to young women and to parents, siblings, and friends of these young women to be aware of the warning signs of a controlling relationship and take a proactive approach to assisting them. My daughter used to say, people can ask for help, but children and animals cannot. And now young women who are caught up in situations like my daughter found herself in need a voice as well. We would like to thank Justice Lucy McCullum, the Crown Prosecutor Mark Tedeschi, the DPP Solicitor Luke Muller, Detective Sergeant David Weeks, the detective and officers of the Surrey Hills Police Department, Sophie Kingston from DPP, and Scott Andrews of Homicide Victims Support Group for all their hard work and dedication. It was a fair trial, and the judge had a very difficult decision to make. I respect her judgment and the conclusion. Thank you to the press for your patience. We ask that you respect the privacy of both families at this time. And that's all I have to say, other than my daughter's favorite saying was, "Families are forever." Please go home and hug your kids and hug your wife and your husband and make it families forever for everyone.
Lisa Harnum's funeral was held at Highland Funeral Home in Scarborough, Toronto on Saturday, August 20th, 2011. Lisa was so close to escaping from this awful and controlling man, but unfortunately, Simon was just one step ahead of her. And poor Lisa must have been so terrified in those last few moments of her life. It is also just so unbelievable to me that Simon's new girlfriend, Rochelle, is adamant that he's innocent, even though all the evidence shows otherwise. Had Simon not gone to jail, she might have been next. Thank you to all the patrons of A Wicked World. Now, there's even more of A Wicked World on Patreon. So check it out at patreon.com/awickedworld or use the Patreon app. You'll have access to exclusive videos each month and more. Any support truly helps to make sure the victims never get forgotten and to highlight the shortcomings of society associated with each case. Do you have a suggestion for a case you'd like to see me cover? If so, send me an email at awickedworldtruecrime@gmail.com.